Hey, boys, tell you what, we've been blowing up on YouTube. It's been excellent. What's the feedback been from your end?
Yeah, no, pretty good, Flem. I always get really good feedback from my wife, so everyone else is quite positive, but I get sort of feedback to keep me grounded at home, and she's been happy, so it's, all good, mate.
Anything from Sarah, just one little thing in regards to yourself?
Yeah. First podcast I wore glasses. She told me not to wear them because it makes me look old. So I'm pushing.
He doesn't have them. I tell you what, from
Dix is pushing through.
a lot
I
of
see
our
with glasses as well.
Yeah, I'm pushing through. G'day, Pidge. G'day, Flem.
I can't even see you guys.
I
I'm just
need to
going
wear
on.
them if I'm going to read anything and read some notes.
Yeah,
I need to wear them.
it's interesting
so.
reading through some of the YouTube feedback, and a lot of them were how modest you were, Pigeon, to pick Dennis ahead of you in our top 5 one-day bowlers for Australia and all that. But a few of the Indians, it's going, oh, you guys have got so old. What happened? And it's the aging process. We're mid-50s.
It is what it is.
All right, let's get into it, boys. Hey everybody, welcome to the Fast Bowling Cartel podcast. I'm Damien Fleming, and alongside two genuine Australian fast bowling legends, Glenn McGrath, Jason Gillespie, two men who terrorised more batsmen than Netflix has documentaries about serial killers. And they dismiss batsmen probably just as much as those. Gentlemen, great to see you again. How's your week been?
Yeah, all going well, Flem. Great to be back home for a little bit. It's a bit of rain up north here, which is nice. It's been pretty dry, but good to spend a bit of time at home. But all going well.
G'day, Flem. G'day, Pidge. Yeah, look, great to be here. It's beautiful down here in sunny Adelaide, and it's great to see you guys. Lots of positive feedback about the pod so far, and let's make sure we have another great one.
And make sure before we start, we've got to do the DK salute.
Of course.
And there's that little flick that the great man says.
Just a little flick.
We've got our first guest today. And I've done a
Excellent.
fair bit of research with this man. I was drinking a few beers with him at the Queensland Bulls lunch last Thursday, organised by Jimmy Ma, sitting...
Andy Bickle? Is it Andy Bickle?
Well, first off, obviously I've given it away. He was born in Brisbane. He went to Brisbane State High, a school that produced... not just himself as a test player, the great man Ian Healy, who's a friend of the Fast Bowling Cartel because he used to take the catcher's office, Stewie Law, and Marnus Labuschagne. He's probably the only member of the Fast Bowling Cartel who played rugby union to a very, very high standard.
I think that makes it pretty easy now.
I think we know who it is, Flem.
This bloke has a degree in economics, so while we're worrying about our line and length, this man was calculating the GDP of Poland. Okay? He took over 1,000 first-class wickets. He played over 3 decades of cricket, and he is the man who saved Test cricket back in the 2005 Ashes. You know who it is. It's the great man, Michael Kasprowicz. Kaspa,
Tommy boy.
Thanks for joining us.
How are you?
Going well, mate.
Yeah,
Great to see
good
you,
to see you, mate. We're just having a look at those headphones. They're decent size. Remind us a bit of a certain wicketkeeper that used to play a little bit for Australia.
A good
Careful, Pigeon. He can hear us. Gilly can hear us.
Well, I thought actually it was appropriate, given the fact that we might get into music, and certainly the dressing room rock box and I guess the musical taste. But this is the only way to listen to music, mate. What we love, especially Diz Flem. We're talking grunge and hard rock.
Yep.
McGrath's more country rock, I suppose. But yeah, this is why.
Hey, Kaspa, what was your song when you walked out to bat?
When I walked out of bat, didn't need to be too long.
Might have been a bit of thrash metal, 2 minutes.
I reckon there was Rock the Kaspa.
Okay.
Was one by
I remember one song that Kaspa used to fire up to.
The Ballroom Blitz.
Blue Bag Blitz.
Yeah.
We might as well
All
start
the
there.
Bloodhound Gang, the roof.
So the story is we won in Pakistan 1998, maybe the first test we'd won for 40 years. And we won like 10:30 in the morning. We started so early. Did we only need 1 or 2 wickets? And we won. And then we went to the Americas Club. Diz, you were injured on that tour. And we're starting to drink, celebrate.
Yeah, I missed that.
And then the Blue Baggers, the New South Wales guys, they started to get a little bit less about Australia, Kaspa, didn't they? And it was all about us. And then on the dance floor, this is probably 12:30 during the day. We've been drinking for 2 hours. They're dancing. And instead of, ballroom blitz from the suite, they changed it to the Blue Bagger Blitz. And Michael had been having a few like us, and his eyes were starting to roll, and we're chatting, what about these Blue Bags? It's all about this. I'll tell you what. And you decided to do something about it, Kaspa. What did you do?
Well, it's like all those situations you find yourself. I just went to the biggest and the most influential person in the New South Wales sort of contingent there, and Paddy Farhart, the physio. I decided to almost like, I probably would have got 3 weeks suspension in rugby league, but I ran in with and wasn't an open two-hand tackle. It was more like the shoulder. Went in, I took Paddy Farhart out, so that stopped it immediately.
Well, Flem, it's that Queensland, New South Wales thing, but now the Kaspa's got a real tie to New South Wales, which I really love. I think that's brilliant. How's that sort of sit with you with being sort of following the Waratahs now?
Well, my brother, actually, Simon, played for the Waratahs for about 4, 5, 6 years almost, years ago. So we've had that sort of connection, obviously, with that. 2 out of my 3 kids actually live in Sydney these days. And Ed Kasprowicz, he got a 2-year contract. He's moved down to Sydney with the Waratahs, straight out of school, rugby union. And the thing too, this is the part that we got to just put on the table here. What you find is that when Queenslanders move to New South Wales, they will still always support Queensland in the state of origin, rugby league, always. However, what we found, and the official studies go with this, that prove it, that when they move from New Sydney to Queensland, then they straight away start to follow Queensland in the state of origin. Alan Border.
I've heard that too.
Alan Border, Jeff Thompson. The long list is long.
Hasn't one of the former New South Wales great quicks moved to Noosa?
Just the back of Noosa. Glenn.
Yeah.
So you're obviously following. You're happy with Queensland winning the state of origin this year.
No, it's been a terrible year. State of origin, NRL, AFL. I'm trying to keep a low profile up here, but I always have that conversation with AB. He doesn't understand the concept of state of origin. He spent 20-odd years in New South Wales and Sydney. Alan Border Oval at Mossman. Yes. So really, he's a blue bagger at heart. So you could just see he just seemed to be a good bloke underneath everything else. So, yeah.
I just love this rivalry, New South Wales, Queensland. Hey, Kaspa, while we're having a few beers at lunch last Thursday, you spoke about the origins of the fast bowling cartel. On the first episode, it was blurry. It got nailed on the 01 Ashes series, but there was talk of it before that. But you sort of cleared it up for me.
Yeah, it was actually 01 in India. Now, there was a few things were happening in India. That particular tour was tough. We ended up losing, but it was at the time. I remember sitting down, and now maybe historically for us fast bowlers, it was always the fast bowling union. There was a union that was set up, and the reason why I can share that, my first year, I was 17 years old, got picked to play for Queensland. We're playing in Sydney, and the very first time we're in the dressing room, we used to take a 6-pack of beer at the end of a day's play and take it in the opposition dressing room. Just for a bit of a chat, learn some stuff. Anyway, I chose Mike Whitney to sit next to. And so I'm sitting next to Whit and we're having a chat. And the very first thing he said was he told me all about the fast bowling union and the way that we got to look after each other. The fact that, he said, look, in the corner over there, Carl Rackerman, he's the president, he's the treasurer, he's everything about it. But essentially this union, when everyone was looking after each other, was set up years ago. It was more so, I think, designed so that I didn't bounce Mike Whitney. And in other words, we just got to look after each other. So that's sort of, I guess, the background really for what it was. But it was 01 in India. And I remember, as we do, a bit of light reading and, I don't know, the AFR or something like that, Financial Review or Business. Anyway, I remember reading, because it's pretty boring, all those Indian channels, aren't they? To watch it.
Besides the wrestling,
anyway,
yeah.
Oh, that's right. But I remember reading up about the Amcor and Smorgans at the time, the cardboard box manufacturers, and the term cartel, they were describing them as there's a cartel behaviour going on. And I remember reading that. I thought, I'm going to Google. I think it was around that on our dial-up internet, of course. Was finding out what the hell does cartel mean, and it essentially is to control the market, keep people out, control it for us, for the benefit of us, a couple of businesses. And immediately I thought that's the fast bowlers. As far as we're going to keep batsmen well out of the way here. We don't need to engage with you other than walking on the field and occasionally at training. So that's sort of where I think that was sort of it. And it was obviously the first episode of listening to that, and I thought I just want to add that context. So it obviously took its own life, and of course with Pidge, you the celebrating, acknowledging the crowd with the ball, and the history is all there.
Mate, thanks for clearing that up as well. Because we did nail it in England, but and there was that change, the union to cartel. And once again, I think that economics degree just really kicked in there, because I think we lost half of our audience when you go on AFI or whatever it was you're reading there. But one of the great honours of your career, Kaspa, was that you got labelled a Subcontinent Specialist. When did you first hear that, and how comfortable did it sit with you?
I loved it. It was easily the toughest experience of and challenging challenge of my life was when 1998, the India tour, we went there the first time for quite a few years. I think, Dizzy and Pidge were conveniently injured at the time, which meant that I got to go. Now, the very first test match, I played with Paul Rifle, but the end, Gav Robertson and Warney. So there was only ever 2 quicks, 2 spinners, a couple of part-timers. It's only 90 overs a day. We don't need all-rounders. So all of a sudden, Pistol got injured, I think, in the first innings. And so there was me, Warney and Gav Robertson, Bluey, Steve Waugh, Greg Blewett, Steve Waugh, maybe Punter might even had a little bowl. I don't know who else. Anyway, part-timers. Second test match, Blocker Wilson gets picked.
Blocker?
Yeah, big Blocker. So Blocker, he lasted about 6 overs in the first innings, and then he got injured. So then that was at Calcutta, having to play that whole test match. So within those first 3 weeks, I lost about 10 kilos of body weight, right? And so it was, as I said, the most challenging thing ever on those conditions. The pitches, look, there's not a blade of grass on them, let alone a living organism on those pitches. So, and for us bowlers, we kind of like something to sort of going to preserve the cricket ball for a start. Anyway, I went over there, last test match, chip and played. I know, Flem, you were there. And coming back to, we'll tell a Dennis Lilly story possibly later and his advice with Tendulkar. But anyway, the thing was, last innings, that third test match, I got 5 wickets and learnt to reverse swing the cricket ball without sandpaper, right? And the trick about that was keeping the ball bone dry, keeping the rough side of the ball absolutely bone dry. And Javagal Srinath, I was talking to him, they were already 2-0 up in the series, so he didn't mind telling me that then. And so
Kaspa, was the whole team on that? Because we know if we get any moisture on the side, did you decide that as a team, or did you pass on what Srinath had said?
Yeah, in the second innings. And what happened in the second innings, said around that team meeting, said, right, less hands the better. So instead of from the keeper to a slip, if you had a slip, to a gully, to cover, to a middle, everyone's walking around and grabbing the ball with 2 fingers, bang. And I remember even being quite profuse, perspirer. I'd walk over to mid-off, and actually with 2 fingers grab the ball and actually help the ball swing. So even just that, it was groundbreaking. 5 wickets in that second innings. We won the test match. And then I came back, coming to answer your question, long way around, was Crash Craddock came to me and said, Kaspa, who News Limited, chief cricket writer for News Limited, said, Kaspa, why do you like India so much? You know, you talk about everything's great. So all I said to Crash, Crash, put it this way, I'm the fashionable bowler for unfashionable tours. And straight away, I knew that as a journalist, his copywriter would love it because there's a headline right there. And they use that, which, and honestly, it actually, for me, I'd call it my branding or rebranding in that space, because every time Australia was going to India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, the journos were almost like talking about it. They were saying, oh, Kaspa, you know, reverse swing, the Subcontinent Specialist. And that so I liken the journalists to almost like keeping the economic or master of business terms, maybe marketing. They were my early adopters. They were going to influence my customer. And my customer was the selector. The selectors, Trevor Holmes and his mates were the selectors to actually influence them. And so for me, like I said, the most challenging thing we ever did, playing in those conditions, losing 10 kilos in a week or 2 weeks, playing against those players, but easily the most rewarding.
Yeah.
So what was your, Kaspa, what do you reckon the breakup of your career? 38 test matches. How many did you play in the subcontinent, you reckon?
I've never looked at stats or numbers. It was more so, I guess, overall tours, like 10 years. So I with 10 years through the Australian team, for me was the most extraordinary journey ride. And the reason being that obviously I wasn't the first picked, it wasn't going to be, but I found a way back into that side 13 times over those 10 years. I think Peter Hellier, your golf mate, Flem, actually introduced me to a function down in Melbourne once at a dinner, at a lunch. He introduced me. He said, please welcome the guy who's had more recalls than Daihatsu, Michael Kasprowicz. So I thought I actually enjoyed that. But it was just getting on being part of those teams all those years, Flem. That's what really, and Pidge, that's what really, I suppose for me, looking at the Australian cricket team and you blokes and the odd batsman, but seeing everyone develop over that 10-year period was pretty unique.
And probably a highlight for you three, might even start with you, Diz, was the 2004 win over there. Yeah, that was really one of the favourite series I got to comment. I wasn't even playing, and I got so much out of that win.
That was a really special series, Flem. And I remember Kaspa and Kaspa, you could probably elaborate. We had a couple of good conversations on the plane heading over to India. We sort of wanted to take the lessons from 2001 into that 2004 series. And do you want to just share a couple of conversations you had with myself and with Pidge and about how we approached? Because I know you had such a strong career in county cricket, particularly at Glamorgan, where you touched on reverse swinging that, and Sophia Gardens at that time was a real dry wicket and low, slow wicket. And you took some lessons from there that you thought could help us in India in 04.
Yeah, and I suppose one of the things I was coming off that season for Glamorgan, low, slow wicket, was the fact that what we did there and developed over in Glamorgan was to bowl straighter, to actually bowl straight to hit off stump. But also too, and this is what we adapted and best part was executed in India for that series, was bowling essentially to the Indian strength. And it makes no sense when you think about it in theory, let's bowl straight to the Indians. It wasn't straight leg stump or anything like that, but the field setting was so important. Now, the reason being, the idea was to sort of hit the top of off still, like actually hit off stump. And the reason being, I'll describe the field setting in a second, but reason being that at 98, we'd come in and bowling shorter length outside off stump. Sure, that works at the Gabba, or works in Australia. That's what we did so well. 2001, exactly the same thing. Come on, let's do that. That's the tactic. And we'd won 16 consecutive test matches too, before we lost that one in Calcutta in 01. And then all of a sudden, it hit me. I sort of thought, and that's why I shared it with you guys. Why don't we just bowl straight, and if we bowl straight to off stump. At the same time, we mix it up. We short, force them on the back foot to try and trap them in front. But we're going to protect ourselves here, because if you go straight to any good players on the leg side, they'll flick your leg side and generally at the boundary. Not this time, because we'd have we'd have two men back on the leg side, either just forward, a square leg, or just behind square leg, two men back for a hook. But at the same time, if they manage to flick it off their toes or off, the hips or something like that, then they're only getting one run, not a boundary. Then you'd have a short catching mid-wicket as well. So all of a sudden, in their mind, they were thinking, oh, hang on a tick here, because out of instinct, they had to change. Mid-on was a little bit straighter as well. And I reckon Ral Dravid didn't score any runs in that series because he was possibly the most technically correct. But even that line, we sort of left maybe cover a little bit open. So he was almost trying to hit through cover with half a bat. And so he was LBW or bowled quite a few times, I think. And ultimately it was, it was just adapting our skills and the tactics to suit the local conditions. And it turned out to work pretty well.
Yeah, you're right there, Kaspa. And on those wickets, they're not as quick and bouncy as Aussie ones. So the new ball will carry through. So you're still looking for that length, that neck. But then as the ball gets softer, it's not going to carry to the slip. So you have more of a ring field, catching mid-wicket, catching cover, as you mentioned, and bowl a little bit straighter. And it worked pretty well. There was one test match in Nagpur, which was we turn up and it's a green seamer, which is not what you're used to in India. And that was the one we got across the line. I think it was actually my 100th test, so it was nice. They left a bit of grass on the pitch. But, that 04 was a brilliant series. First time we'd won in India for a long, long time.
Yeah. And, boys, how important was the Mumbai Mumbler magazine in winning that series? Kaspa?
It was vital, wasn't it, Cass?
Well, like I said, a bit of downtime. Quite often the batsmen would go and play golf or sun themselves by the pool or something like that. There's any chance to get the shirt off. And for us, generally we were feet up, weren't we, boys? We were feet up. We're just exhausted. And there's lots of inspiration, we'll put it that way, in India, of just the difference. And so I made an in-house, I'll call it a newsletter. Yes. Maybe it was Batuta Advocate before Batuta Advocate, put it that way. Talking about stories about us as a team, because at the end of the day, when you got the journos always on you, trying to pick holes in everything, I just thought, look, I think I made the slogan or the tagline. If anyone's going to write untruths and based on unsolicited, hearsay and rumour, it may as well be us. So I know with Dizzy, it actually made for a good afternoon a few times, Diz, didn't it? Where we sit down and just, get the creative juices flowing.
What were some of the stories in it, Kaspa, or headlines? Did you do interviews with bowlers? What was in there?
We made. Well, we ad-libbed a few interviews with a few people. There was advertisements as well for different products or ads. I think Damien Martin. There was a Q&A with Damien Martin, and it was, "Hi Damien, how are you going? Are you enjoying India? All the love of India with the cricket and everything else." And the response was, "Not now, buddy."
Not now with the hand up.
That's it, yeah. So it was a long.
That was as extensive an interview that Damien Martin ever supposedly gave.
Possibly, yeah.
Wasn't it Bernardo?
But it was. It was a bit of fun. It was. I think the guys actually really enjoyed it, and I'll just let them know that one's coming. We brought it back to Australia as well, and even I won in. And actually even 05 in England. I think we did some as well. Yes. So I've done. I'll put it this way. I've had there was a Christmas one one year in Australia, and I did along with Sander Sack turning up. There's going to be the Aussie Australian cricketers books collection coming out. And I think there was, because of course Matthew Hayden has all his cooking books and all that. But there was a Chinese cooking book with Ricky Ponting. There was
he liked his Chinese food.
He loved it. Yeah, he did. I think even McGrath had a book coming out that they reported. I think it was called Roots, Shoots, and Cahoots.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure on the name, but anyway.
I just like how there's no way a batsman would put the time in for team spirit to do something like that. So that's just another thing introduced by the FBC.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Hey, Kaspa,
that team camaraderie and unity that we had in 01, I think that played a big part, and things like the old Mumbai Mumbler. How many editions were there in the end? And they're collector's items?
I think we actually. I think I can only store them on floppy disk, and I've got no device to actually pull it out these days. So,
a floppy disk.
So probably all up 8. Remember, there was little stories like, and once again, this show, I'd say this hesitantly because these days, you know how people get offended at most things, and I guess with batsmen, they were probably always offended, and so we made a habit of trying to do that. But I reckon there was one where Shane Watson, where was it? It was 05. And we stayed at a haunted castle or some place up in... Where was that?
Lumley Castle in Durham.
That's it.
Yeah.
And we stayed there. And then anyway, what happened was that apparently that evening, Shane Watson couldn't spend his own night. These are the days when you've got your own suite, if you like, your own room and all the rest of it. He went to Brett Lee's room and he slept on the floor.
Yep.
Just to make sure. But once again, a batsman needing a bowler... I
think Watto said, didn't Watto say he saw a ghost? I thought Watto said he actually saw a ghost.
That's why he was scared.
Yeah,
yeah he was scared. Yeah. He was convinced that there was a ghost in his room.
And he couldn't go up to the DRS to confirm.
What? Is there a hot spot in that?
But he did. He said he saw a ghost, and then he stayed in Binger's room. That's nuts. But hey, that's a good segue, Krabby.
Sure.
I introduced you. You did save Test cricket. Now there was a lot happening on that 2005 series for you guys. We hadn't lost to England since 1862, I think. So it'd been a while, and it was very one-sided. Talk us through. The second test, including you're not playing and someone might have stood on a rugby ball, was it?
Cricket ball.
Play. You guys talk me through it.
Well, do you want to put this scenario in place?
Pidge, and you start.
I'll set it up. So the thing that with cricketers and sport people, something that's very important is routines. Having the same routine, get you in the same mindset. We just won at Lord's, great win there. And then we go to Edgbaston, and our coach, John Buchanan, decides, let's change it up and get to the ground half an hour earlier than we've ever done before. And normally we get to the room and what have you. I stuff around, getting ready, and I get out on the field just in time for warm-ups. But this day I'm out in the field. You know, we've gone, had a look at the pitch. You know, we're just sort of milling around in the middle. We look at the time, still got half an hour to go. And Brad Haddon, who, our reserve wicketkeeper, rates himself as a bit of a leaguey. He picks up a rugby league ball and we just start passing it back and forth. Just as simple as and innocent as that. He threw a rubbish pass that bounced halfway and just ran along the ground. I just turned to go and pick it up. But I hadn't noticed that our support staff, I don't know if it was the coach or Jockcat or whoever it was, gone behind and put ball, glove, ball, glove, ball, glove. And I just turned to get the rugby league ball. First step on the ball, down I go. No. I knew I was in trouble straight away because I've done my ankle plenty of times before. And I laid on the ground for probably 30 seconds. And then I look up expecting my teammates to be racing over to see how I am. And no one's moved a single millimetre. And I lay back down. I'm going through my head, how can I reverse what happened? Look up again, still no one's moved. I had to signal to our physio, Errol Alcott.
Did you say, Hooter?
Hooter. So I signalled to Hoot, and as soon as he saw my face, he realised I was in trouble, came over, carted me off. I remember coming back from the hospital after getting scans, and they announced over the PA system that I was out of the test match. And it's the biggest cheer I've ever had in England, just went up around the ground. But the other thing, which is quite funny, there was three English guys fielding on the sort of standing on the boundary watching us warm up. They saw me go down. They saw me get carted off. So what do? They went straight to the Ladbrokes tent, put some money on me not taking a wicket in the test match, and apparently they got on. So so I'm wow. You've got to keep opportunities present themselves every now and then. They were all over it. So
I reckon Rodney Hogg got on something like that too. Straight away.
I think you're right. So I'm out of the test, and Kaspa, who's come to the test, pretty cash, might have some 12th man duties. All of a sudden, he's in the mix, and Ricky Ponting decides to have a bowl when he wins the toss, and the rest is history.
Did Punter talk to the fast bowler? Did he talk to you, Diz Kaspa Binger, about bowling first? It was bizarre.
No.
No, there'd been a fair bit of talk that the only teams that had won there had bowled first. There was a bit in the wicket early, and then it flattened out. And we're hearing it. Oh, I was hearing it from everyone, from the groundsman to the players to everyone around ECB. And so I think there was a bit of a red herring there that they threw it out, and we might have fallen for it. Though Rick Punter still reckons if he had the choice again, he'd still bowl first. So I'm not sure about that one.
I'm not sure that's true.
Yeah, what were your recollections, Kaspa and Diz, bowling first?
Well, okay, you go, Diz. Yeah.
Oh, we ended up bowling first. England came out quite positive. But it was pretty clear that the surface probably wasn't offering what was thought that it would offer something early. It was a pretty decent surface. Sometimes, you can look at statistics and make decisions based on that, past games, but sometimes you just have to look at what's in front of you and make a call based on what you see there and then. We can debate whether it was the right call. History shows that we lost that game, but we ultimately probably needed to bowl a little bit better than maybe what we did to put England under pressure and take wickets. We took wickets, but they scored at a pretty good clip from memory. It was over 4 and over, maybe 4.5 and over. So fair play to England. They came out really positively. Could we have bowled better? Maybe a bit, but I don't think we bowled terribly by any stretch. But England came out with a real positive mindset, and I think they had threw caution to the wind. Our best bowler the best quick wasn't playing, so they threw caution to the wind and played well.
Yeah, Edgbaston was always a decent bowling track. It had bounce and carry. Just ask Wakar Yunus. He did all right there for many years. And the thing too, I recall there was almost like a mini cyclone went through past the ground a couple of days before. And so you thought there's added moisture, bang, it's going to do a little bit. And okay, that must have been in the background as well. But it was, I should actually, I've never officially acknowledged this ever. So I thought it's appropriate today.
Here we go.
I want to thank Glenn for the opportunity for single-handedly saving Test cricket, because I was told that by a guy in India years ago. He came to me, he said, "Oh, Kaspa," I won't do the accent. He said,
"You started. It didn't start well."
He sounded Irish, didn't he? Anyway,
yeah, he did.
He says to me, Kaspa, thank you. You saved Test cricket. And I acknowledged, I said, "You're welcome." I said, "In what way?" He said, "Well, if you had have scored those runs with Brett, then you would have been 2-0 up in the series, and you would have gone on and won." Yeah, obviously that would have, and Test cricket to be dead. But as he pointed out, it was the most exciting test that won. And I did say to him, I said, "Mate, well, funny thing is that there was, I think, 10,000 copies of DVDs of that test, the greatest test ever, were sold over in the UK. I think junior participation rates went up by at least 15, 20% in both Australia and the UK. And all the England players, I think even Gary Pratt from that run out that he got with Punter, got an MBE.
Yes.
Including, I think the bus driver might have got one too. Anyway, and that was
the baggage handler.
Yep. I just said, oh, thank you. What do you think happened to me? To the bloke, if I was single-handedly responsible, and old mate said, I don't know. I said, well, I got dropped. So, replaced, I should say, because Glenn came back in the next one. But the reason why, the line I like sharing was that it was the one test series that calendar year where we didn't use DRS. I think they were introducing it, and there was an agreement, no, we won't use it this series. So at the end of the day, and I recently caught up with Billy Bowden about this, actually, and asked him about it. No, it was that one, Glenn, a bit more crooked. Anyway, he said, I thought, well, if all of a sudden, if we had DRS, I could have actually gone upstairs, and because of what I wasn't playing, so we had a few to go. Anyway, I would have actually gone upstairs, and then all of a sudden, whilst it would have been the right result, because Hotspot using DRS, would have picked up that my right hand was actually just balls flicked to my right hand, and it was off the bat. And I think it's law 34.1 in the MCC laws of cricket. It's along those lines, something like that. That's actually not out. And so I do think, though, it could have been embarrassing for me. Because even though it would have been the right result,
yes,
and would have got in there, and it could have been embarrassing because Hotspot, I reckon, would have picked up a bit of a wet spot of some liquid dribbling down my legs. So thank you, Pigeon, for giving me the chance to single-handedly save Test cricket.
Yeah, no, happy to do my part, mate. So, no, well done. And if I was playing, the chances of us scoring those runs, England might have won by a mile. So, well done anyway.
Okay.
It was amazing, wasn't it? And did you have a feeling, are you just trying to avoid, because Harmison was amazing when he got it right. Did you have a feeling that you might have, did you know the law, and did you feel like your hand was off the bat?
No, at the time, it just all too quick and bang, short, hands go up and flicked it. But I think the other thing too, from a bowling point of view, England actually bowled poorly to Brett and myself. I remember going out, Warney stepped on his stumps. I think we left at 62 runs or something like that, 63 to win. And so I walked out the binger and just said, oh, mate, let's have fun. Because you just know it was either going to be at the nose or your toes. And that's what they were doing. Instead of shorter length outside off stump, and we wouldn't have scored any runs, and then sure enough, we would have end up finding a way to get out. That's the way you bowl to tail enders, essentially. But they were trying to get us out with every delivery. We were scoring around 4 runs and over, plus with leg byes and a few other bits and pieces. And it all went quiet. What was incredible, Flintoff was bowling to Binger, and he bowled a ball with 13 runs to win, and the crowd's going nuts. The noise was incredible. He bowled this ball, went down the leg side, hit the foot mark, and went for 4 byes. And all of a sudden, it went silent. The whole ground actually went silent. And all of a sudden, I think England even thought, shit, we were going to lose this. And then they started to bowl good channels, a bit of that sort of stuff. But even that in itself was the most extraordinary thing. But funny how many people you come across who said they were there or they were at home and they felt like smashing the TV or something like that. So it was responsible for getting us so close. It was one of the more extraordinary things. It's actually, that was the painful part, and that you got so close. But I think that was the whole series too, wasn't it, boys? We ended up, it was day 5, the last session, we still had a chance. Of drawing it, but not to be.
Well, I remember walking around the streets of London and other cities in the UK, and people coming up to me and say, I'm not a big fan of cricket, especially Test cricket, but I cannot miss a ball. So you're right. If you'd got those few runs, that series was dead and buried, and one of the best series of all time. Yeah, and what it did for Test cricket. So you're right on the money there, Kaspa. So, yeah, well done, mate, in saving Test cricket.
You saved Test cricket. I think it was the last Test series on Channel 4, and they were getting like 12 or 13 million, and then it got sold to Sky, and they obviously it's subscription, so they don't get those type of numbers. So that added to it as well. Kaspa, we're getting out of time here, but one on your bowling philosophy. Okay, can you talk us through the niggle worm as a fast bowler at any level?
Yeah. I think one of the things that for fast bowlers, we're surrounded by pain. And just for a young fast bowler growing up, you're going to be sore. That's our gig. That's our shit factor. You know, every job has a shit factor. No one can see your shit factor. No one actually understands it. And no one actually cares, you know, because they got their own shit factor to worry about. But for fast bowlers, that's the shit factor, is pain. You live every single day. And I think that's where you end up knowing that there's an excruciating pain somewhere in your body today. But if you just keep bowling, all of a sudden it disappears. But it'll turn up tomorrow. It was in your left ankle yesterday. Tomorrow it'll be in your right shoulder. And I think that's where you're sort of explaining that. And there's been a few times with the younger bowlers, they sort of said it got them through. Because I remember the young fast bowler come out from England, he's playing in Brisbane, and he said, Kaspa, that's true, what you said. But I said, why is that? He said, because I come in to bowl the first over, I thought I tore my ribs off the bone, but I kept going and then it disappeared, and I was right. And I said, yep. So rather than being old school and just give it a rub and you'll be right, you got to understand good pain, and obviously there's bad pain. And I just think that that's where, as we all know, and without to be too old school with it, that you're just being aware that this is going to hurt. And I think that's where, as you know, the niggle worm is where it started. But I know as I got older, it turned into a niggle python. It was just a lot harder to shake, yeah.
For all of us, you know, we're talking about bowling workloads with fast bowlers and how many young kids have got hot spots at the moment and all that. I want that bowling workloads to have a little niggle worm component to it.
Yeah.
Hard to measure, but you know, once you get into even your early 20s, you're never 100% right, are you?
Ever.
No,
I just remember I was...
No, go, Kaspa.
Yeah. I was just going to say in the sports science category, I was on the board, a director of Cricket Australia for 8.5 years.
Yes.
I was the first fast bowler ever, former Test cricketer, ever to go on the board of Cricket Australia. Alan Davidson. Well, I'm representing the minority group, so that's what I was doing.
Did you feel like you were going over everyone's head as a fast bowler on a Cricket Australia board?
No, the good thing is in all the teams we played with, you know, the batsmen weren't listening to in the first place, so it sort of was maybe well trained when we got there. But I think no, it wasn't that at all. It was actually excellent. The environment was great. The people were fantastic. But the one thing, there was a presentation once to the board around bowling workloads, and a beautiful standard deviation chart. You know, the bell curve with dots everywhere, and it was like to justify why there's only I think 180 deliveries per week is the limit for all bowlers. That's the problem. That's why we got to manage these players. And at the time, I think the media were coming out, going into Pat Howard was in charge of it, getting stuck at him saying, in my day we used to bowl for 2 hours of training and we used to do this and we used to do that, blah blah blah. And I said to Pat, I said, mate, you know what? What you are doing is perfect. What you're doing is perfect for these guys. And it's not the matter if they're not bowling enough now. They didn't bowl enough when they were younger. And I think I'm saying that because what happens is that everyone's these bowling workloads. I know my son used to play cricket, fast bowler, come in, you bowl 5 overs, and then you got to stop and rest for an hour. Now, where the science comes into that, I have no idea. But a number of things. You cannot developing the ability to get 5 wickets or a hat trick or be a star. And it's almost like a consolation prize of, you come and bowl 5 overs and then have a rest. We've got to give everyone else a bowl. But the other thing too is when all of a sudden you see these charts and all the beautiful stuff, I said, the problem you're actually saying to me, and the way I'm reading that, is that you're actually identifying outliers, like a McGrath, who wasn't identified in pathways and all the rest of it, but you're identifying an outlier but then you bring them into the system to make them average.
Yeah.
Because everyone bowls, you're only allowed to bowl 180 balls. But when you haven't, but when you've been in the country in the bush and you've been bowling for days, yeah, I think that's, for me, that's the sports science part, and I don't care if we actually offend anyone with that.
No, I don't think we've found the balance right. You can just see the injuries we've got at the moment. But, hey, gentlemen, and we're going to have time to catch up with the pod with you, Kaspa, because we haven't covered everything here. But that stumps. To everyone that's watched or listened, can you like, subscribe, ask any questions of all four of us really here. But, gentlemen, how good was it having the man who was a fashionable bowler in unfashionable conditions, the big Kaspa, Michael Kasprowicz. Thanks for joining us, big dog.
Yes, Kaspa.
Brilliant, Kaspa. Brilliant, mate.
Thanks, fellas.
Great to see you, mate.
Thanks,
You
Krabby.
too. Thanks, guys.